Directed by Jendi Tartakovsky. Produced by Michelle Murdaka. Screenplay by Peter Bainham and Robert Smigel. Story by Todd Durham and Dan Hageman and Kevin Hageman. Executive producers Adam Sandler, Robert Smigel, Alan Covert. Co-producer Lydia Bottegani. Music by Mark Mothersbaugh. Editor Catherine Apple. Production designer Marcelo Vignali. Visual effects supervisor Daniel Kramer. Art directors Ron Lucas, Noel Trioro. Character designers Carter Goodrich, Carlos Cranjol, Craig D. Kelman. Head of story Kayan Kalian. Music supervisor Liza Richardson. Head of layout James Williams. Senior animation supervisor James Crossley. Supervising animators Joshua Beveridge, Matthew Cowie, Bill Howler, Sebastian Kapijinpanga, Jeff Panko, Brian Scott, Kevin Webb. Digital producer Sky Leone. Production manager Mary Ellen Botter. CG supervisors Danny Dimian, Michael Ford, Matt Hausman, Carl Edward Herbst, Rodrigo Ibanez, Michael Lasker, Daniel Laval. Cast Dracula, Adam Sandler, Jonathan, Andy Samberg, Maris, Selena Gomez, Frankenstein, Kevin James, Eunice, Fran Drescher, Wayne, Steve Buscemi, Wanda, Molly Shannon, Griffin, David Spade, Murray, CeeLo Green, Quasimodo, John Lovitz. Suit of armor Brian George. Shrunken Heads Luanell. Pilot Brian Stack. Fly Chris Parnell. Martha Jackie Sandler. Fake Dracula Marty. Robert Smigel. Skeleton Husband Rob Riggle. Zombie Hydra Paul Britton. Kremlin Man Hydra Johnny Solomon. Shrunken Head Hydra Jim Wise. Gaian Crowd Hydra Craig Kelman. Harry Monster Hydra Brian McCann. Foreman James Williams. Additional voices Rose Abdu, Steve Alterman, Crick Bailey, Dana L. Belbin, Myra Blinkoff, Ranjani Brow, Corey Burton, William Calvert, Kim Clark, Michael Corbett, Alan Covert, Rachel Crane, Doug Dale, Colin Dean, Eddie Frierson, Bridget Hoffman, Wendy Hoffman, Riff Hutton, Tom Kenny, Darren Lackey, Ashley Lambert, Scott Menville, Edie Meerman, John Olson, Jessica Pennington, Alec Rosenthal, Judy Sandler, Sunny Sandler, Katie Silverman, Warren Sroka, Melissa Sturm, John Hans Tester, Sarah Fire, Chris Titan, Dave Zeiler. Casting by Mary Hidalgo. Layout supervisor John Clark. 3D stereoscopic supervisor Vaughn Williams. Digital production managers Garrick McLaughlin, Nushin Weg. Story 8 p.m. Lawrence Jonas. Story artists Brian D. Andrews, Victor R. Cartwright, Andrew Erickson, Glenn Harmon, Colin Jack, Denise Koyama, Donnie Long, John Norton, Troy Quayne, Daryl Rooney, Michael Smukavic, Rebecca Sugar, Henry Yu. Script coordinator Dana L. Belbin. Story coordinator Jason L. Christopher. Art Department of MS Marjorie E. Stewart, Kevin Noel. Character design Louis Grain, Annette Marnate, Peter Oswald, Kathy A. Jones. Visual development Peter Chan, Dean Gordon, Michael Korinsky. Christy Maltese. Additional visual development, Luke de Marchelier. Neil C. Ross. Jati Lam. 3D visual development, Christian Bue. Art department coordinator, Casey Fagerquist. Editorial. Editorial APM. Michelle L.M. Wong. Associate editor, Mark Yeager. First assistant editor, James Kirkpatrick. Assistant editors, Andrew Leviton. Nolan Sutherland. Imagery and animation by Sony Pictures Imageworks Incorporated, Culver City, California. And Sony Pictures Imageworks Canada Incorporated, Vancouver, British Columbia. Modeling. Modeling supervisor, Mark Krentz. Lead character modelers, Moon Young Kang. Eric Proven. Character modelers, Robin Peterson. Eric Sanford. Nobutaru Sasagawa. Environmental modelers, Aaron Hama. Christopher Nolan. Character setup. Character setup supervisor, Timothy Coleman. Character setup TDS, Chad Belto. Joseph Delalo. Scott Englert. Paxton Jerish. Frank Muller. Adrian New. Ryan J. Roberts. Peter Tirias. Layout. Layout APM. Michael Killeran. Rough layout artists, Thomas Bruno. Steve Childers. Stefan Couture. Leisha Lewis. Donald Wright. Billy Ty. Brian Walters. Final layout artists, Lin Mai Win Chan. Eric Peterson. Craig Fraser Simpson. Mesrob Torikian. David Weezer. Stereo layout artists, Alyssa Brule. Daniel Erickson. Ellery Ortiz. Mariam Riahi. Mariam H. Zaid. Layout coordinator, Devin Anderson. Animation. Animation APM. Keiko Koyama. Animators, Jason Baer. Chad Bradbury. Sebastian Bruno. Doug Calder. Sue Campbell. Jessica Chan. Joseph Chong. Sean Clark. Frederick Coate. Patrick Danaher. Daniel Edwards. Todd Elliott. Chad Ellis. Martin Isnala. Mathilde Fabry. Christina Falcon Escalona. Eva Fan. Jean Dominique Fivet. Gianluca Fratellini. Jorge Garcia. Vincent Gorman. Lenny Graves. Philip Hall. Alan Hawkins. Hugo Hernandez. Yana Connor. Eric R. Huang. James Humphreys. Michael James Jong. Matt Cablan. Josh Kent. Jeff Kim. Stefan Klaus. Kevin Cope. Sheldon Kruger. Jin Koom. Julius Kwan. Chloe Lang-Willer. Callum Laprairie. Francois Laurent. Jeremy Lazar. Yuri Lemonty. Jeff Lynn. Christopher Lindsay. David Lisp. Michael Loeck. Julio Lorenzo. Niels Lundmark Searing. Dave Ma. Jason Malinowski Manuel. Martinez Baver. Jason Martinson. Lee Brian McGrath. Matthew Meyer. Valerie Morrison. David Nasser. Ryan Page. J.Q. Park. Tim Pixton. Melanie Plett. Daniel Pozo. Eric Prebend. Agavin Roger Adnam. Ryan Rasmussen. Josh Riley. Gwen Robson. Philip Rudolph. Marcelo Sakai. Ron Smith. Keith W. Smith. Zachary Toro. John Vassilo. Jorge Vicra. Kelsey Wagner. Jeff Wheeler. Mitchell Yeager. Ryan Yi. Danielle Zanning. Shao Fuzhang. Animation coordinators, Christy Lynn Fortier. Amanda Hui. Character pipeline. Character pipeline supervisor, John Hood. Character pipeline TDS, Sean Corzo. Stefan Hertz. Kyle McGinnis. Geronimo Morales IV. Kate Nacy. Andrew Ogio. John Patrick. Jordi Riera. Lighting and compositing, Lighting APM. Amy R. Gordon. Lead lighting artists: Alan Zong Nin Chen, Thomas Hollier, David Manx, Arun Ram Mohan, Rosendo Salazar. Lighting and compositing artists: Adele Abada, John Achassian, Shane Kachi, Joshua Chappell, Dan Cox, Dale Drummond, Yan Dupont, Angela Elias, Huya Gobadpour, Matt Jovingo, David Godwin, Harry Gunderson, Todd Hara, Jeremy Harger, Paul Hargrave, Dan Herring, Melvin L. Hayes 2, Dave R. Howe, Stephen V. Wan, Christopher Jolly, Lisa Kalmanson, Blaine Kennison, Darren D. Kiner, John Lands, Dan Lavender, Brian James Lee, Shun Singh Edward Lee, Kang Sub Lee, Tachapan Lurwarajgal, Richard Liukis, Carlos Lucas Picasso, Wilma Crate, Nikola Milosevic, Viviana Palacios, Winston Quadassel, Matthew George Rampias, Richard Sandoval, Brian Silva, Bostru, Prapancha Wami, Martin Tardif, John Tajik, Juan Tran, Ellen Trin, Scott Trosclair, Joe Viola, Jerry Weil, Mark A. Wilson, Yezi Shui, Terry Ziegelman. Lighting coordinators: Michelle Ledesma, Brittany Stein, Leanne K. Tanazawa, Jonna Todesco. Effects Animation Supervisor: Patrick Whitting. Effects Animation Leads: Joseph Cavanagh, Andrew Hoffman, Vincent Saratella, Aaron Wilson. Effects Animators: Steve Avujajoli, Benjamin Fish, Keel Neva, James Goodman, Pasha Ivanov, Chris Kasmer, Michael Scott Laffov, Alexander Movny, Tom Pushpathadam, Sam Rickles, Eric Rosenthal, Douglas Sadin, Sheldon Sarau, Jason Simmons, Paul Van Camp, Theo Vandernoot, Paul Wagoner, Ken Wesley. Effects Animation Coordinator: Alyssa Sussman. Cloth and Hair Supervisor: Chris Bolwin. Cloth and Hair Leads: Neil Atkins, Katya Izachenko, Nikki Rose, Ed Somika Jr. Cloth and Hair Artists: Arturo Aguilar, Jeffrey Bernstein, Brian A. Coffey, Dominic Del Castillo, Rob House, Stephen Heidelberg, Thomas Hellman, Adnan Hussein, Dipankar Goswami, Clary Lawrence Slater, Michael Levine, Allison Middahl Barger, Ricardo Nadu, James Parent, Noah Peterson, Neil R. Rubenstein, John Sparks, Karik Swaminathan, and Michael Todd, Eric Vogels. Cloth and Hair Coordinator: Natalie Dejan. Matte Paint Supervisor: Arpile Knob. Matte Painters: Mannix Bennett, John Beveheimer, Max Berman, Sun Chung, Denise Blakely Fuller, Alan Gonzalez, Suki Lee, Dark L. Hoffman, Marissa Crippen, Alex Ali Murtaza, Adil Mustafabekov, Samir Shan. Look Development Lead: David Conlon. Look Development Artists: Lynn Bases, Timothy Brandt, Clara Chan, James Fetter, Nicola Lavender, Enrique Munoz, Brett Street, Claire. Look Development Coordinator: Sam Marks. Texture Paint Supervisor: Nori Kaneko. Texture Painters: Nicole Cornute Sutton, Paul Fedor, San Jebert, The Hung Quack, Donna Tracy, John B. Wallace 3. Production: Digital Resource APM, Benjamin Dines. Production Office Coordinators: Grant Blaylock, Shelley Ray Couples. Production Coordinator: Kaylin Ryan. Production Accountant: Duke Logan. Assistant Accountants: Johnny Cardona. Matt Foreman. Production assistants. Tainer I. Shane Chunef Eisel. Michael Sullivan. Resource management. Lead PSD. Gregory Newman. PSDS. Larry Danielle. Richard A. Foreman. Mark Hulschel. Lauren Lanster. David Gianuli. Brian K. Smith. Daniel Teisling. Mehul Barakamarupadiai. Development specialists. Xavier Angel Villasquez. Vinicio Alvarez. Manager. Andrea Lackey Page. Post-production. Post-production supervisor. Matt Davis. Re-recording mixers. Michael Semeny. Tom Myers. Supervising sound editors. Jeffrey G. Rube. Jason George. Additional re-recording mixer. Jeffrey J. Kaboosh. Sound designer. John Pospisil. Sound effects editors. John Dunn. John Johnson. Foley mixer. Lucy Sustar. Foley artists. Sarah Monat. Robin Harlan. Foley mixer. Randy K. Singer. ADR mixer. Howard London. Re-recordist. Tom Burns. ADR voice casting by Hoffmanbrow. Post sound services provided by Sony Picture Studios. Culver City, California. Music editor. Andrew Dorfman. Orchestrations and conducted by James T. Sale. Orchestrations by Richard Bronskill. Chris Guardino. Copyist. Vic Fraser. Orchestra contractor. Isabel Griffiths. Score mixer. John Kurlander. Animated title sequence by Rough Draft Korea Co. Ltd. Picture Mill. Digital intermediate by Colorworks. Digital colorist. John Persichetti. Post-production coordinator. Jessica E. Smielek. Development Group. Chief Technical Officer. Rob Bretto. Head of Software Development. Eric Strauss. Pipeline Manager. Bob Peltzman. Technical Production Manager. Paolo Swaya. Pipeline Architects. Francois Chardavon. Steve Lavietz. Sam Richards. Shading Supervisor. John Manos. Shading Engineers. Derek Haas. Lee Curley. Adam Martinez. Jay Reynolds. Shader Pipeline TD. Jesse Andrewar. Readering Engineers. Alejandro Conti. Larry Gritz. Christopher Culla. Clifford Stein. Animation Pipeline TDS. SH Mitdas. Amy Hrond. Dan Sheeran. Software Supervisors. Armin Bruderlin. Modi Cohen. Brian Hall. Harig Havolder. Iotis Katsambas. Renee Limburger. Sashmir Spassi. Aaron Fall. Jeremy Salan. Blair Zajak. Software Leads. Murilo Coutinho. Tad Gilo. Catalajo Leon. J. Robert Ray. Software Engineers. Michael Ball. Christopher Burdorf. Patrick Clark. Alan Davidson. Marc-Andre Davignon. Stephen Peter Dugaro. Tajio Garcia. Junko V. Igarashi. Dave Krieger. Umberto Lazzarai. Sean Looper. Mike Leone. Lucas Miller. Peter Palombi. Juan Carlos Moreno Rogel. Matthew Selby. Gio Schelling. Andrea K. Solis. Leo Su. Kaz Tanaka. Brian H. Thompson. Ying Wei. John Bradley Wellborn. Brian Wong. Michael Zhang. Keiichi Zhou. Development Support. Shane Birdsell. Lou Condor. Natalie Lima. Production Infrastructure. Tracy Baxter. Nikki Bell. Jill Shane Butler. Scott Fenstermaker. Regay M. Fulcher. Cassandra Holroyd. Suzanne Labrie. Ray Wong. Training and Artist Development. Diane Street. Claire. J.C. Cornwell. Stephen Vargas. Daniel Gutierrez. Samantha Brown. Artist Management. Ruth Gibson. Annette Koff. Stephanie Greco. Don Gunta. Chad Helmuth. DJ Kirkbride. Lee Lambert. Ken Mariyama. Wendy Mashburn. Samantha O'Fole Prince. Rosie Server. Systems Engineering. Supervisor. Stephen Kowalski. Systems Architects. Nick Bali. David Mia. Systems Engineers. Jim Harnish. Fred Lakeanga. Derek McPherson. Michael Trujillo. Alex Wallace. Scott Williams. Systems Administrators. Garrett Cox. Brian Hamblin. Dean Mia. Christopher E. Angel Trujillo. Marvin Vasquez. Coordinator. Jan McCrea. Sony Pictures Imageworks Senior Management. Debbie Denise. Randy Lake. Rick Mischel. For Sony Pictures Animation. Creative Development. Michael Lackens. Jenny Marchik. Natasha Stefan. Production Infrastructure. Leah Abate. Kurt Albrecht. Jenna Lohorn. Pam Marsden. Judy Thomason. Studio Infrastructure. Stephen Argilla. Ronnie Coulter. Jana Day. Peter Jensen. Rebecca Kuska. Tammy Lee. Dawn Levy. Olivia Moru. Dorothy C. Rayburn. Melissa Sturm. Jeffrey Veronini. Kim Wolf. Sony Pictures. Imageworks. Music. Hush Little Baby. Traditional arranged by Robert Smigel and Jendi Tartakovsky. Performed by Adam Sandler. Daddy's Girl. Written by Adam Sandler and Robert Smigel. Performed by Adam Sandler. Where Did the Time Go Girl? Written by Robert Smigel and Dennis White. Performed by Kevin James, CeeLo Green, Steve Buscemi, and David Spade. CeeLo Green appears courtesy of 8 Entertainment/Elektra Entertainment Group Incorporated. Sexy, and I Know It. Written by George Robertson, Kenny Oliver, Skylar Gordy, Stephen Gordy, Aaron Beck, and David Lisenby. Performed by LMFAO. Courtesy of Interscope Records. Under license from Universal Music Enterprises. Where Did the Time Go Girl? Written by Robert Smigel and Dennis White. Performed by Kevin James and CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green appears courtesy of 8 Entertainment/Elektra Entertainment Group Incorporated. Suite 118. Written by Andy Samberg, Stuart Hart, and Trevor Simpson. Performed by Andy Samberg. Helpless. Written and performed by Peter Tvrzinic. Courtesy of Crucial Music Corporation. The Zing. Written by Adam Sandler, Robert Smigel, and Dennis White. Produced by Static Revenger. Performed by Andy Samberg, CeeLo Green, Selena Gomez, Adam Sandler, and Kevin James. CeeLo Green appears courtesy of 8 Entertainment/Elektra Entertainment Group Incorporated. Selena Gomez appears courtesy of Hollywood Records. Problem, The Monster Remix. Written by Lucas Gottwald, Henry Walter, Becky Gomez, and William Adams. Produced by Dr. Luke, will.i.am, and Circuit. Performed by Becky G featuring will.i.am. Becky G appears courtesy of Kenosib Records. will.i.am appears courtesy of Interscope Records. Copyright signed 2012 Sony Pictures Animation Incorporated. All rights reserved. Sony Pictures Animation Incorporated is the author of this film. Motion picture for the purpose of copyright and other laws. Production babies. Avery Lynn Barger. Leilani Walker Brandt. Isabella Sage Chen. Chloe Rose Chen. Mina Chugani. Wyatt Lee Danaher. Audrey Erickson. Elliot Fevet. Michael Williams Jebbert. Allison Harmon. Alexander Hang. Luca Enzo Ibanez. Olivia Gabrielle Ibanez. Lucas Dale Jolly. Noah Jonas. Olivia Jonas. Delilah Anthony Larson. Kimberlyn Noel. Nathaniel Noel. Vincent Oswald. Nina Prebend. Asher Thomas Somako. David William Anthony Walters. Darshana Rachel Wilson. This is a work of fiction. The characters, incidents, and locations portrayed and the names herein are fictitious, and any similarity to or identification with the location, name, character, or history of any person, product, or entity is entirely coincidental and unintentional. This motion picture photoplay is protected pursuant to the provisions of the laws of the United States of America and other countries. Any unauthorized duplication and/or distribution of this photoplay may result in civil liability and criminal prosecution.